Hey there, Wargamers, and welcome. So I'm trying something new with this one. Just want to get some thoughts out on some things. As everyone is probably fully aware at this point, over the weekend we saw a big announcement from Games Workshop in regards to the release of 8th edition 40K. So very excited. I'm always excited about a new edition change when it comes around. I don't know if I'm one of those rare optimistic ones who finds a little bit of good in every edition. I've personally really enjoyed every edition since I've gotten into the game. I felt that there's always been improvements. That's not to say that there haven't been issues with editions. Like obviously with 5th edition, we saw a big issue with transports being death traps. With 6th and 7th edition, we saw some issues with rule bloat. Obviously, some Death Stars becoming big problems. Some formations being rather problematic, but that's just going to be something that always happens with every rule set. It's unavoidable. No game is ever truly balanced unless you have exactly the same type of models on both sides of the table. So to argue and complain about balances being out of whack, while there is merit to it, I think it only goes so far. But anyway, yeah, 8th edition, so very exciting. I mean, right off the bat, Games Workshop did something that they usually don't do, and they gave us plenty of warning on this one. Right now, the rumor has it that early June is going to be the release of the next edition. That's being backed up by a couple people who had discussions at Adepticon. It's also being backed up by some supposed blackout dates for Games Workshop employees to not take time off in June itself. So that's what we're kind of looking at. There is some other evidence to suggest that June is going to be the date. Some of that being that we're going to be seeing new content from the Warhammer community website every day until the new release. And while I don't necessarily doubt that they could do it for an extended period of time, that's probably not a commitment that they want to have to rush through for a long time. So they probably have a set amount of content available, and it's probably going to run the better part of a month and a half until we see the release. So I think June is looking pretty reliable for that. But some other really cool things. They released an FAQ giving us a bit of a rundown on what to maybe expect for what we can see in 8th edition, which is kind of exciting. I mean, we're going to see an overhaul completely. We're going to see some of the rules go the route of Age of Sigmar, and not being an Age of Sigmar player myself, I can only speak sort of peripherally about this, but from what I do know about it, I think that's going to be generally a good decision, a good move, because it did clean things up quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm cautious with it. I don't know if you can hear this, but my dog unfortunately has been forced into the cone of shame, and he's kind of whiny at the moment. Hey, buddy. So I apologize if his whines come through. Yeah, but some other things coming through this that got a lot of attention was yes, hi bud. One of the other things that really came through was the discussion of codexes. I'm sure everyone by now saw the announcement that all the current slate of codexes are basically going to become invalidated as far as rules go. Come on, people, not that big of a deal. It happens every edition. The only difference is the timetable. If anything, it's better off that they're all getting scrapped right at the beginning of the edition as opposed to gradually through. This is just going to help balance in the long run. I mean, that's something that the community calls for every single edition is a greater balance in the game. And having everything sort of start from the same level is going to just be a good thing in the grand scheme of things. So keep your books. It's going to be great fluff, great artwork. Just because the rules aren't going to be active anymore, not a big deal. So let's not do the skies falling thing. One of the other big things that happened just today, in fact, as I'm filming this, the live stream just ended shortly ago. Games Workshop actually got online and did a live Q&A. And this is amazing. Having been a player for the past 17, 18 years, To see this level of interaction Games Workshop's had with the community has been fantastic, especially during those really rough years where they virtually had no interaction, no social media, no online presence whatsoever. So to see them actually addressing some things is really nice. Now the Q&A did not answer all the questions that I had. Now, mind you, I got on about I think 5 or 10 minutes late, so I might have missed some stuff. There were some interesting nuggets that came out of it. One of the big ones being is the way you build your armies. So they've basically said that while the current codexes are going away, they're actually going to still be around in some form. They're going to be introducing army books, codexes, much like they have with Age of Sigmar. But they're also going to have sort of the larger faction setup, which is going to be really nice. So, you know, Imperium, Xenos, Chaos, those are the ones hinted at the moment. And the interesting thing about this is the force organization charts. Allegedly, there's going to be 14 of them, ranging in size. And depending on what you do for your force organization chart, this is going to award different command points, which are going to be powerful in-game abilities, which I'm really looking forward to. Like one example they gave is a unit charges in, makes an attack, and then your opponent can make use of a command point to interrupt the flow of battle and get an attack back. And now I don't know if that's going to be with the same unit, a different unit. I don't know if it's going to allow you to attack multiple times in succession. But just the idea that they're giving players tools to sort of interrupt the flow and the pacing of things, giving some strategic tools for this. Really interesting, really looking forward to it. I mean, I saw some people making comments that this is possibly a balance issue and whatnot, and people can abuse it. But you know, people can abuse almost anything in a game like this. So we'll see how it actually hits the table. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested in this. I want to see how it pans out. One of the other interesting things that they mentioned is the new structure is going to speed up gameplay quite a bit. And this might be one of those things that's making its way over from Age of Sigmar. I did know that the few games I played of that a lot faster than Old Fantasy. So if they can transport that over to 40K, that'd be fantastic. I mean, I'm much like I'm sure a lot of you, very busy, home life, work life, all that sort of stuff. So having to dedicate 3 to 4 hours for a game is not ideal. So being able to polish off a game in about 90 minutes time, really nice. Looking forward to that. But moving on from there's a couple other things that came out from this. Their level of community involvement, the fact that they went out, they talked to people from Frontline Gaming, they talked to people from Nova, they talked to people from Adepticon. They hit up some of the most notable tournament organizers for this edition, and to their credit, they actually gave them early versions of the rules. They gave them beta rules to play through and sort of tinker with. Now, it's a credit to these guys that they didn't immediately run out and spoil everything. But it does kind of explain where some of the leaks and rumors were coming from. But just in general, the fact that we got some people that, you know, love or hate the competitive scene, these are people who care about the game a great deal. They want to see the game successful. And to me, that gives a lot of confidence in this rule system. That we're gonna see something that's more fairly balanced, that's more streamlined, and it's gonna flow really well. So that gives me a lot of confidence. I'm really happy about that, and I hope they continue on with that. I hope they even reach out to other outlets down the road, because there's definitely some other sources that they could approach to get feedback on it, even beyond the competitive scene, like even more of the narrative stuff. So that's really nice. It shows a level of self-awareness that has not been seen in Games Workshop for a very long time, and that they are actively working to make a better product, which is fantastic for all gamers. So really happy about that one. Yeah, I'm also gonna apologize. These are kind of all over the map. I just kind of wrote down notes as they were coming up on the live stream, so I'm gonna try and address them as grouped together as I can. But one of the other things that's really I'm really looking forward to is there's going to be regular updates for the rules. Once again, going back to Age of Sigmar, we see that they are releasing the General's Handbook somewhat regularly. I think it's been once a year or so, which has just sort of been updates and just erratas and general comments on the rule system. And they have said that we can likely expect something like this for 40K as well. And once again, that is amazing. It opens the door for almost a living rulebook. So instead of having to rely on edition changes, things can get updated in not quite real time, but they can get updated more regularly, and we can see better updates happening, and we can see problems addressed almost as soon as they occur. So again, very nice thing to hear about. Some of the other things, there's going to be points are still there. They've said that points are still going to be sticking around, which is really good, because I know one of the big issues with Age of Sigmar when it first came out was the lack of a point structure, which, to my understanding, once again, they have addressed in Age of Sigmar, but I'm glad that they're not putting that out there so fast for 40K, that we are going to see those points kicking around. But interestingly enough, there's going to be two different types of way to do points. They've mentioned a matched play version and a narrative play version. The narrative play version is a very interesting one, where basically it has a power level cost. So the idea is that they have a unit, they assign a point cost, and then you upgrade it with whatever. It doesn't matter what you're upgrading them with. They have their general point level, which stays the same. And the whole idea is it allows people to put together, say a 2,000 point game with relative power level balancing between the two of them, without having to worry about the nitty gritty details of certain weapon upgrades. So that's really neat. I think that's a good way of doing it. I mean, that was something that when I was with Mini Wargaming doing the campaigns with Matthew, we would always discuss a general points level, power level, and whatnot, but there was always some wiggle room, because in the grand scheme of things, I mean, 10 points for a Power Fist here, 15 points for a Plasma weapon over here, they can make a big difference, but at the same time, they can do virtually nothing, and the threat level is all dependent on how it actually interacts with the game. So having a more general set of points is kind of a nice thing for narratives. As far as the match play goes, from the sounds of it, that's going to be, keeping track of everything. If something has a points value, you have to keep track of it. So very similar to what we currently have existing right now. They have mentioned that they are working on a 40K app, similar to what they have for the Age of Sigmar app. Again, really good, being able to have a lot of that data on your phone, on your mobile device, without having to cart around a whole number of books. Very useful, and something that really should have happened a long time ago. So, thumbs up to that. Some other things that they're doing, narrative-wise, which is kind of new, cool. They're trying to refocus the big bad of chaos. So I know there's a lot of chaos players out there who are probably giddy about that. But this is fantastic. Like, refocus, have that central antagonist that everyone is sort of scared of, working towards defeat and whatnot. This is reflected in the map that they released as well, where it looks like there's a giant warp storm just cutting the galaxy in half, which is really interesting. You have the segmentum solar on one side, you have the Ultima segmentum on the other side. So obviously we're going to see, lore-wise, we're going to see a split in where the Imperial forces are, where allies are. So very interesting in that regard as well. Just some other things that I picked up on. The story of templates being gone, that is true. I admit, I don't know where I stand on that one. I really like templates. I really like the tactile feel of templates. Being able to put that big pie plate down on a unit, and just that sense of satisfaction when you can see just a big swath of it disappear. I like flame templates. Do they slow the game down? I don't know. In my personal experience, I don't see a lot of slowdown. Does it have the potential of it? Yeah, of course it does. There's some weird interactions in the rules, like multi-level ruins and buildings, where templates do some odd things. So getting rid of them, it could be a good thing. You know what, I'm gonna stay on the fence on this one. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. Everyone's gonna form their own opinion on that one. I'm gonna wait till the game is out. Yeah, we'll see how it actually happens. Another interesting thing, the way the stats work in the game. As it currently exists, stats were always capped at 10. I think wounds was the only thing that could go over 10, and even then it was only in certain circumstances. But in this particular edition, stats are no longer going to be capped at 10. So we're gonna see a lot more either tougher creatures or more durable creatures or whatnot. So really looking forward to that one. To sort of combat this, it sounds like heavy weapons are going to be able to deal multiple wounds in a single go. Once again, these line up with the rumors that we were hearing about. Very similar to Age of Sigmar as well. So once again, I mean, this could very well be a positive change. We'll see how it interacts with all the models on the table and whatnot. Especially if vehicles get a treatment more similar to monstrous creatures, where they get a toughness stat. So again, looking forward to that one, seeing how it's going to go. On the subject of models, just a quick side. They reiterated a number of times that all models that currently are available for sale on the Games Workshop website will have rules in the game. So yeah, you don't have to burn your armies, which is fantastic. It sounds like they're introducing keywords from Age of Sigmar as well. Again, not being as familiar with Age of Sigmar, I can't really speak too much on it. But if that sort of helps the shenanigans of rules being split across factions and allies and whatnot, I say bring them on. Let's see how they work. And if it reduces the viability of some of the bigger broken Death Stars, then hey, awesome. They're saying that they want to make Assault more viable. Again, really nice. I mean, we heard the rumor of the unit that charges in gets to attack first. They still haven't addressed if that's going to be an ongoing thing for assaults and combats. My personal belief is that it will likely end up being on the turn they assault in, they're going to get the first turn, and then it might switch over to an initiative-based system. But that's just speculation on my point, so we'll see what happens there. They've also said that as far as army building goes, the more you stick to a single faction, the more benefits you're going to get. This is probably going to be in the form of command benefits. I think they mentioned something along those lines of like a battalion-sized force, which gives you like 9 command points, which, from what we've heard so far, could be a pretty powerful part of the game. So it's going to definitely encourage people to build a single army as opposed to pick and choose the power units from each army. And again, that's a nice solution to the current issue with allies in the game. So yeah, looking forward to that as well. Another really interesting thing, I've always believed that Games Workshop has had some excellent customer service as far as the retail side of things go. Something that I was never aware of. Apparently, they had a policy in place that if you had purchased a rule set or a codex within 4 weeks of a new edition coming out, apparently you could contact them and provide proof of purchase and actually get a voucher for the retail value for up to 4 weeks. So first off, that's cool. Never knew about that. But it sounds like for this one, they're extending it to 8 weeks from the launch announcement. So that's this past Saturday. So again, proof of purchase. Now, I would imagine this probably only applies to purchases made through Games Workshop directly, probably not through independent stockists, which, not surprised there. I mean, they have a lot more control over their stuff than that. So yeah, just an interesting little thing, and it definitely goes to help those people who had just bought new rule sets who were really concerned about having dropped a lot of money without this forewarning. So that's kind of the rundown of my takeaway from the live stream, from the announcement. Like I said earlier on, I'm very excited about this new edition. I'm always excited about a new edition. I'm really eager to see how it goes. One of the big things I'm looking forward to is whether or not this eases the entry level into the game. Because right now it is a complex, convoluted mess of a game at times, and it's very easy for people to look at it and just turn around and walk away from it, because there's so much going on, there's so much bloat happening. So anything that can be done to make the game more accessible to new people is great. I'm a big fan of anything that helps build the community. I've always firmly believed that if you truly love a hobby, if you truly love something, then you want as many people involved with it as humanly possible. The example I typically use from my days working in the game industry was looking at software exclusives. I always found the idea of software exclusives rather silly, because I mean, if you have a great game, you want everyone to play that game. You don't want just one subsector of the gaming community to play it. And the same is very much true of tabletop games and hobby games. If you love the game, if you want to see it grow, you need to encourage new people to come into it. And if If a streamlining or simplification of a rule set will do that, fantastic. Of course, they got to do the balancing act to make sure that they don't lose their veterans at the same time. But I mean, we want to see growth. We want to see more people come into it. I personally would love to see more people jump into the game, start playing it. One of the things I absolutely love is seeing what everyone puts together in terms of their painted armies. I love seeing creative people make new and exciting things. So I'm really looking forward to that. So my takeaway from all this is that I definitely think Games Workshop is learning a lot of lessons. I think that they're finally addressing their biggest issue, and that is community involvement and outreach. They're finally at least talking to the community. They're talking to the trendsetters and the people who can influence opinion and whatnot. And whether or not they take that advice and they run with it, we'll see. But at the very least, they're getting out there. The dialogue is starting, and it can only be. I feel that it can only mean promising things for the community. Hey, buddy. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I think at this point. Oh, sorry about that. I think at this point, I think a lot of people who are really worried about the game system that, I'm not going to say don't worry about it. I'm not going to say don't be upset about changes. But what I am going to say is try to take a step back and try to wait for the new edition to come out before you make any judgments on it. Try to wait to see what the content is going to be like. And you know what, who knows, maybe you'll end up loving the game. I mean, we saw this with Age of Sigmar not too long ago, where so many people basically swore off Warhammer Fantasy completely. You know, they blew up the old world. They changed over to this new simplified system of four pages of rules. Things were a lot faster. Very early on, it looked like it was just a giant mosh pit in the middle of the table. But here we are, close to 2 years later. Yeah, close to 2 years later, and we actually have a system that seems rather streamlined, that really seems to work, to the point where I know a lot of people who were sort of opposed to it at the beginning are now looking at getting into it. I know myself, I played early versions of Age of Sigmar, and at the time it wasn't quite for me, but I'm looking at what's there now, and I'm thinking, you know what, now might be the time. Having said that, cool steampunk pirate dwarves are definitely getting me into it as well. But definitely very interesting. So I mean, if they've learned a lot of lessons from Age of Sigmar going into 40k 8th edition, then that's fantastic. That's self-awareness, that's growth, and that's great. That's something we want to see with this hobby. But that's enough about 8th edition. I've rambled on for over 20 minutes at this point. Whether or not these types of videos become a new thing, I'm not entirely sure yet. We'll see. I'll look at the responses from this, and if people really like them, I'll try to put something together at maybe some shorter intervals. In the meantime, I'll just give you guys a heads up on some of the things I'm working on. I'm still going to be doing my painting videos. Going to try and do them every Tuesday, sort of thing. Right now I got a couple already lined up. I got a couple ideas. I'm going to try and show a terrain tutorial using the Shadow War Armageddon terrain that came with it. I'm dabbling with the ideas of maybe doing some unit review type videos as well. So that's just kind of where I'm at. I know everyone wants to see battle reports. I'm not quite in the position to do that just yet. I have a couple guys lined up who are willing to do them with me. I'm just trying to get some better hardware. I don't know if anyone can tell, but I'm actually filming this on a cell phone. Yeah, by the way, Google Pixel, amazing camera, fantastic. I've been using that for pretty much everything right now. But yeah, I need some better hardware. I need some better software. I need a better computer for editing this stuff. I'm doing it on a laptop right now with a broken sound card, so I'm kind of all over the map with that. So I do have some plans. I am toying around with the idea of possibly setting up a Patreon account. So once again, if that's something that interests you, or think that I should go ahead with, let me know in the comments, because I mean I'm trying to make this a little bit more than just a hobby. I'm trying to make this trying to do this as something that can supplement my living situation, but also set up a situation where I can upgrade my equipment, can upgrade my hardware, and get content to you in a more timely manner, be it rules reviews, content reviews, that sort of stuff. And I got a couple other plans that I'm looking into, that I'm going to see what I can do. So I have plans, I have ideas. and I'm definitely always interested in hearing more. There's the dog again. I'm always interested in hearing thoughts and comments from you guys, because honestly, you guys have stuck around with me since I left Mini Wargame, which is, that's a year and a half ago at this point. Thank you so much for your support. It has been fantastic. I've loved being able to interact with you guys. I've loved being able to put ideas off you. I've loved getting that those comments back and support and whatnot. So that's been fantastic. So just in general, thank you guys for watching this. Thank you guys for your support, and just in general, thank you guys for. Some of you might like this. Thank you guys for being golden. Seriously, thank you all for that. So yeah, if you sat through the close to 26 minutes of this video, thank you so much. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And as always, guys, happy wargaming.